Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. How you doing? This is Marz with the bottom line. I got my co-host, the old man, Greg Battle. How you doing today, man?
Good morning. Good morning. How you feeling?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. It's been a long week. Been a very long week. I think I still got a lot of jet lag from being out of town last week. They had me working out of town last week. I'm still got my head a little fuzzy there. And then came home during the week and worked from home a little bit. Worked in the office. All these long days. All this craziness that's going on in the world, man. It's like we got to just bring it all together and just, just bring it down a little bit, man. It's been crazy.
I've been riding this wave, enjoying my retirement. I don't have to punch a clock no more.
Oh,
But
I'm
I'm
jealous.
still blessed to have my mom and dad, and I check in on them regularly. And got a new grandson at home, so you know I'm
Congratulations.
I'm I'm enjoying the good life right now as it comes. The world
Great, great.
has its own problems, but I can find my
Yes,
serenity inside.
that is awesome. That is awesome, man. It's been so much in the news this week. We had a couple of topics we're going to run through the Kyle Rittenhouse case in Kenosha, Wisconsin. There's been some issues with the judge there. He brought out some things against the prosecution that needed to take care of. But the thing that caught everybody's attention was the attitude of the judge. What's your opinion about that? And do you think that he was in the right in the way he handled that with the prosecution for? Well, first of all, let's just say that the prosecution had some issues with him prior to the trial because of things they couldn't say, and then they tried to sneak some stuff in. Let me just put that out. They did sneak some things in, and he got on their case about it. What do you think about that?
It frustrates me as many times as I see people now want to ignore the law and
Right.
take their own uh, opinions and feelings into the professional arena, and it just jacks up the whole understanding. A judge is supposed to have a certain demeanor. He's supposed to openly listen to both sides, and when he shows that he has a bias, that
Yeah.
allows the appellate court to overrule anything that he does. So if
Right.
we just keep moving the mess uphill, then nobody needs to be accountable for what they do. I think folks like that need to lose their seat, but they're elected
Okay.
officials.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I understand your position on it, and by it being in Kenosha, where Mr. Blake was shot, and that's what caused the protests out there last year. Um, do you think that if people, I guess, come together in this and during this time and look at what's the better good for this whole situation? You look at no one wants to see this kid really locked up for life, in my opinion. I mean, just from a genuine, from a humane standpoint. Um, we've seen a lot of what do you call inequality in the justice system over time. I think this guy needs to be disciplined, yes. But when I first heard about it, if you guys remember, I posted on there. I said we need to pray for this kid and his family because you can see he was definitely
Right,
misled.
right.
He's been misled, and so it's sad that some that lives have been taken during this time. But could this be a wake up of what our young people are dealing with influences in their lives versus the chaos and political things that divide our nation? This could be a teaching moment actually from this whole process.
I see it as um, the downfall of parenting.
Yeah,
When you have your mother drive you across state lines, knowing that you have this rifle going to take you to this situation, it's something that my mother would never do. It would be the investment of time and parenting needs to happen at the young age when you got them in their
yeah,
arms rather than after they've made their opinion and set their life on their road. You can't change
right,
them once that happens.
right.
But
No,
with
true.
two people working in the workforce and nobody at home, who's raising the kids? Kids raise
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah. I mean that goes a long way in what you just said about parenting. And when we look at the fact that we have so many, broken households, you would say, and
Hmm.
I guess even during a broken household, the parents actually doing what's best for that child. And when you look at this, you could just see so much. I mean, one thing you can say that he was trained with a firearm just by the things he did. He was trained, but for someone to want to put themselves in the middle of something like that, I mean, like you said for yourself, your mom wouldn't have did the things that maybe his mom allowed. Um, I couldn't see me allowing my child to insert themselves into a hostile environment and to say that you're protecting someone else's property.
But you
To
see,
me, that causes.
color plays into that now. Color
Well,
plays into
yeah,
that because our
I
parents
definitely understand.
taught us to survive in a certain society,
Right,
where he is growing up without that pressure that we've always had to look at.
right,
So the parenting has been different, but no
right,
child comes with a book of instructions. It's
right,
all trial and error.
right. No, you're absolutely correct. So when I look at this whole thing, it looks like my perception is that he's been coddled. He's being coddled as the perpetrator of these alleged crimes. He's claiming self-defense. But we'll see what happens next week. The jury comes back out next week. There were some things that they weren't, privileged to hear because they were escorted out of the courtroom during these back and forths with the prosecution. But I would like to see that judge be a little more balanced in the way he's judging things, in the way he's making his rulings um, during the court case. I just want to see some balance there. Otherwise, he needs to go, in my opinion.
I don't see it as being a fair trial because the whole picture, the defense isn't going to be able to put on their best case. The prosecution is being
Yeah.
sidelined. The judge has his own opinion. It's all adjudicated before it even goes through this. So it's just they're putting on a show, you know.
That's what I
It's
saw. That's what I saw too. I see the prosecution nor the defense want to see this kid get convicted.
right,
You know,
right,
and
exactly.
I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it at that because we're gonna. I'm looking for some comments. No one even commented on it yet. Usually we have some comments by now. I was waiting to hear. I was waiting to hear some people on this one because that's. It's just a whole sad situation, and all this is
John
due.
Elder said
Actually,
they need to Judge Judy.
Judge Judy. Well, you look at this also. We have the situation with them. Actually, I'm not even gonna play the video for that one, but we got the Amar Aubrey case, and that was a young man that was running through was it Brunswick, Georgia. I've been through Brunswick, Georgia before, and I know Miss Angie probably know a little bit about Brunswick, Georgia, being down in Georgia for a while. She's gonna be one of our guests coming up. But in that case, you have three men who shot this guy. But the crazy thing about it, if you remember, I think it was the city attorney or someone that worked for the city who colluded in that by not pushing charges and
Right.
basically protecting those people. She lost her job. She lost her job during that time. And so it's like, wow, this was already in a corrupt state before he even got there.
Right. Very much so. It was all hidden under the bus. Um, I've been down to Georgia, and my mom's from Tennessee, so I know about the situation down there. But this young man was just jogging and looking at how to build a house. They build their own houses down there, so why wouldn't you
Right,
want to
right.
get that information? And of course, we don't want you around, so let's trump up
Yeah.
some things.
Well,
Modern day lynchings.
I look at it this way also. After that case, when I at that time, my development where I live at was still building. And I was one of this last phase of these houses. I was like one of the first ones in this last phase. So it was like just woods around me, or not woods, but just empty land. And I watched all these houses build up. So I used to walk my dog, or I would jog in the morning.
Hmm.
After that incident, I stopped. I used to go into the houses and look at them also because I wanted to see what did they get new or different than my house, the same
Right.
house I would have. What was different? I noticed some had like full windows, Some had ceiling fans where mine didn't, and mine has this, theirs don't. It was different things, and I would literally walk through the empty house at night, and it kind of, not that I'm gonna say I was exactly scared. Um, I just didn't want to put myself. Hey, Joshua, how you doing? Hey, Leanne, Joe, great to see you guys here. I was really nervous about being that person who would be suspect, looked used as a suspect, and also, being down here in Texas, being a licensed firearm carrier, a concealed license holder. I didn't want to be that guy suspected to break into a house and have a firearm on me and a vicious dog. You
Right.
know, all those things would have been a check mark against me in the middle of the night, me jogging. And that really, and I shouldn't be scared to walk in my own neighborhood, but that really bothered me. It really did. And Joshua says, "Sir, put that back up, Bree." What did Joshua say there? What do you say? You got to think of some typos there. Was it proven that he was just looking to build a house? Also, that he was jogging. Let me comment that I believe that the two should be charged for murder. As a gun owner, you aren't allowed to use deadly force to protect property. Totally agree.
Right.
Unless someone's on your own property, you can see that happening. But this wasn't the case for those guys. And then the one dude videotaped it. That was for bragging rights, in my opinion.
Well,
But
who nominated them to property police? There are authorities, right?
Actually, the father that was in that case, he was like a citizen's cop. Basically, he was retired.
He was a retired cop.
He was retired, but check this out though. They put him in when he retired as a citizen's cop type of thing. I forgot the proper terminology, but like a citizen's cop. Because he didn't go to his required training every year, they removed that status from him, where he was no longer that community cop because he didn't go to his trainings. When he stopped doing those trainings, he was no longer able to do citizens arrest. And he was trying to do this at that night and went overboard. And right. I'm not I haven't even heard any more about that during this case. But the end of that really kind of bugged me was yesterday or day before yesterday, they said that Al Sharpton and any other black pastors aren't allowed in the courtroom anymore, or the defense want them removed. And I was like, wow, that's kind of like, how do you tell
his comment was how many black pastors can he have?
Yeah.
Why does your opinion about how many pastors I got have anything to do with what's going on?
And they were there to support the family. They were there to support the family. Yeah. And so that makes a difference. And before we close, I had the Aaron Rodgers story. I'm not even going into that too much. Everybody knows Aaron Rodgers kind of lied about being vaccinated. And whether you're for or against vaccinations, I guess there's a protocol with the NFL, and he kind of misled everyone. But I had videos for that. But one video I do want to get into was the little 11-year-old. We're running close against time here because I want to get our guests up. Today, we're going to be talking about diabetes. We have some professionals in the house here. We have Dr. Michael Poku. Then we have as an administrative coordinator. Let me get it right. Her name is Miss Renee Moore. We're going to bring her up. And then we have the guest of the hour. She is
let's jump on into
diabetes. We're going into diabetes, Miss Angie. But we're going to have them on today. We got like another 2 minutes. But I want to ask you about the 11-year-old who hacked into the school system. I forgot what city they were in. I am going to show a little bit of the mother talking about that one. That was hilarious.
This is a case that had been in the past. This case has been in the past. It's been adjudicated, and now she can come public with what her son got into. That's the lead up.
This was hilarious. So I'm going to play this video, then we'll get into our special guest. But this was pretty good. I thought we need to get this one up here because for one thing, I think this young man, although he will be, he has to do community service, but I want to see him. Somebody mentor this young man, and I wish I had another way of downloading this video, but this is all they gave me to work with. Let me see. Here she goes right here. This is the mother. She was able to finally talk after 3 months, I think it was, or maybe longer, about what happened.
Right.
And this is her story.
When I tell y'all, I've been holding in this story time for the
Add
past
volume.
month, just waiting to tell y'all. Now that everything is settled and done, I'm willing to share this information. But here we go. 7 months ago is April of 2021. Now, I have an 11-year-old, my only child. So during the school year, they were in school 1 week, homeschool the next week, or virtual the next week. So this particular week that he is in school, mind you, they've been having connectivity issues, all this stuff. It's just been a troublesome year, but this is the first year that they have gone, virtual. Things happen. It's COVID. So, anyways, I get a phone call from the school telling me that I need to get to the school to come there to deal with some issues with my child. So they told me that he is not in danger, but he is in major trouble. I pull up to the school. There are four police officers, the district attorney's office, the superintendent, the principal, three IT technicians. At first, I'm thinking maybe he took the pow pow to school, like maybe he got into my safe, like maybe he knows the code and I don't know that he knows the code. But obviously, that is not the issue here. So I get in there. He's sitting in the hallway in tears. I said, I don't know what you've done, but what did you do? So he would not tell me. He was shaking, very visibly upset. So they told me to sit down. They said, Miss, blah, 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 please have a seat. It is a very serious matter. I said, what possibly could my 11-year-old child who is in fifth grade done that has warranted all of this police activity? He's been controlling the internet at the school for the past 3 months. So he was shutting it off, turning it back on when he wanted to. It was to the point where these kids had off school. Their teachers could not email each other. They could not instant message each other. These kids were off school like every other week. And he would come to me and be like, Mom, the internet's messed up. Nobody can do anything. So they let us out early today. And I'm like, wow, they still haven't figured this out yet? Of course they haven't figured it out because it was him. They called in the National Guard to figure it out, and they could not figure it out. So then they had to go through every single computer at the school. Once they narrowed it down to one school, they went through every single computer as these children were at recess and at lunch until they figured out it was him. My child's a criminal. He's a criminal. They wanted to press federal charges on him. Do you understand I had to hire a federal attorney for my 11-year-old? What have I given birth to? Rain Man? If you want him, come get him. I'm giving him away. When I
That's
tell
my
y'all I have been
mom.
holding in this story
If you
time for
want
the
to come
past
get it.
7 months.
So basically, that's it. Now, that was kind of hilarious. That's her story. But the whole thing was that you know this young man should be mentored now by someone in the from a computer technology standpoint, from that background, and to be able to help him develop that skill set and get him in line for a good job. I mean, they've done it in the past with hackers. They work for the government. They do all these jobs with cybersecurity. Heck, half of the cyber. Check this out. I know places of employment where they have what they call hackathons. You know what I'm saying? Where people come in and basically develop cybersecurity apps for the firms. You know what I'm saying? And they were either in school now. Most of them are in college now for it. But who are the ones that are training these people? Were former hackers. You know?
The parenting at home. Mom made him a
Yeah.
smart kid. Now, these
Yeah,
kids are
boy.
going to invent ways, and I think that they're going to be part of the salvation of what's going on.
Right.
Everybody's
Right.
losing their minds, CRT, and all this other stuff. The kids
Right.
want to
Right.
know, they want to understand, and they're going to figure a way because they believe it's their world and they need
Right.
to save it because we done messed it up.
Right. Oh, Miss Angie just dropped out. I had her coming up next. That might be her
Uh,
texting me. But we're gonna go ahead and I don't see her. Where does I
yes,
don't see
she's
her
in
up there.
here.
So I'm gonna. Do you see her?
Yeah,
Oh no, that's not Miss Angie. I'm gonna bring up Dr. Poku first. Then I wanted to
Dr.
bring her
Poku.
up. How you doing, Doctor? How you
Good. How
doing
you guys
today?
doing?
Doing great, doing great. I'm glad to have you here. We're going to be talking about diabetes. Oh, there she goes. She popped back in. I wanted to get her stories. I want to bring her up with you. Miss Angie, where you going? What you doing?
I, I was trying to comment while you guys were talking in the chat, and I don't know what happened after that. The kid is he's a whiz kid, man. I'm not
Yeah,
upset with him.
right. So we're talking about diabetes today, and I know you've been doing fundraisers and benefits about awareness. You know, I follow you on social media, and I'm gonna tell me a little bit about your situation with diabetes, and what's that has been like for you.
Uh, I hate diabetes. I got it at the age of 50. Um, it runs on my mom's side of the family. Um, I had collapsed in Walmart one day. I was in Walmart shopping and I had a cart, and next thing I know, I just kind of passed out in the middle of Walmart. When I woke up, I was in the middle of an emergency room, and I did not know where I was. I didn't understand. Like, my sugar was 680 at that point. They told me 700, I would have been in a diabetic coma. So I never had good doctors when I was in Georgia because that's where I got diagnosed in Warner Robins, Georgia. So I had to find me some better doctors because I knew that I had been misdiagnosed. First, they told me I was a type 2. They gave me metformin, and I had a real bad reaction. And they just gave me all these pills with no information. They just told me I needed to take this stuff. So when I found the Pavilion, they were amazing. I had some of the best nurse practitioners, to help me. I went through class and I did all of that, but my sugar was still not getting any better. So I had did my own research, and I ended up moving to Florida, where Dr. Lori and Dr. Wade. Dr. Lori is one of the biggest diabetes specialists in the world, and they too were not sure on what was going on with my sugar. My sugar runs me. When I first started, I was 3, 4, 500 a day. I would cry all the time. I had no understanding, and it was just me going through with no understanding. So when it came to them telling me I had to start taking insulin shots, at that point is when I really became angry, because I'm afraid of needles. So I had to learn how to shoot myself in the stomach with these insulin pens. And man, when I tell you, it doesn't feel good. Um, I hate diabetes. Diabetes is not my friend.
hmm
But for me, it's a part of my life. It's my everyday. They tell you you have to do all of these things in order to beat diabetes. But what I have learned over my going on 2 years, if if you a type 2, you can become a type 1. But if you a type 1, you'll always be a type 1. Now there are some people that have beat diabetes being a type 1 and a type 2. So sometimes it's like conflicting information, but there is not a lot of information about being a type 1 diabetic. It's always centered around being a type 2 diabetic. So I just went to God one day and I told him, I said, listen, I said, I don't know what's going on, but I know I need some help mentally, emotionally, physically. I was just kind of out here, fighting for my life, you know. But then, I got a good support system. I got people that
hmm
love me, that will,
Right, right.
that will pour into me because I was losing my way. And people don't understand that, just because diabetes affect every organ in my body, you know, it affects my eyes, it affects my legs, my hands, my liver, my heart, my hair. Like this disease is just bad. And it just really hurted my feelings because they wasn't campaigning for diabetes. They campaigned for breast cancer awareness. They campaigned for all these other things, but nobody was campaigning for what I was going through. So God told me to write my vision and make it plain, and I did. And I'm just on this fight right now for people to know. Nobody seems to know that diabetes is for the month of November because it shadows Thanksgiving, Black Friday, election. They put me in a month where nobody even really knows that it's diabetes awareness. So for me, I said, forget it. I'm going to do something every other month. So every other month, I campaign for diabetes awareness, but it makes me cry. It makes me angry. It makes me sad, that nobody's fighting for this disease that I have. And it's over 89% of African Americans, that have this disease, and ain't nobody talking about it. So, but I got some of the best. I got one of the best doctors, Dr. P. I love my doctor, Dr. P. He's the doctor that I can call, because I don't understand. He's the doctor that takes a lot of time with me, so for me, he's just not my doctor. I love my doctor, and I tell anybody, if y'all don't know Dr. P, y'all don't know nobody, because he's one of the best doctors that I have had being here in Texas, so and he responds, he don't put me on hold, he don't do any of that. So
that's awesome.
So you got to have a good relationship with these doctors. And I have had some that I ain't coming back. I don't care what y'all talking about. I don't like y'all. I ain't coming back. I got to go find me somebody else, because I need my doctor to reassure me, no matter what I'm going through, that he's there, no matter, what it is. And Dr. P is that doctor, man. So I love my doctor.
I want to definitely talk to him after the show, because I'm looking for another doctor. Maybe he can give me some referrals, because I've got rid of one doctor because he didn't do me right. I got one that just retired, and honestly, to keep it 100, I've been looking for a Black doctor. I don't care
that part.
I want somebody, a doctor of color who I can relate to, and that's just being honest with you. And I put posts out and everything. So I did find one. I went to go visit him in Dallas, and the day that I visited him was his last day at that campus. He moved to Austin. so Dr. P, mind if I call you Dr. P? Like she?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about you, as what type of doctor you are, who you as a doctor, and then the next question would be, what is diabetes?
Yeah, so Michael Poku, I'm a physician, adult internist by training, so internal medicine, primary care focused physician. And it's great to see everybody. It's great to see Miss Angie. She's always so motivated and optimistic. So always good to see her. And to answer the first question in terms of what is diabetes, so diabetes is it's a syndrome. It's a chronic condition where to keep things simple, you've got an issue processing the sugar that you ingest, and it makes the blood sugar levels go too high, and it tends to be because of issues either producing insulin or your body's response to the insulin, and you have resistance to insulin in that response. And that buildup of sugar, as Miss Angie eloquently put it, can impact every organ of the body, right? Over time. And when that happens in the eyes, you can get vision loss, you can get heart attacks, you can have strokes, you can get kidney disease, you can have plaque buildup in your legs, leading to amputations and sores in your legs and those things. So incredibly, an incredibly important chronic condition for us to manage and treat. 30 to 40 million individuals in the United States have some form of diabetes. An overwhelming majority of those folks have type 2 diabetes, which is the most common type. And it's a set of conditions that we spend 300 to 400 billion with a B dollars a year on in this country.
Got you, man. So for a person with diabetes, do you think that many people know that they have it or have heard they have it, they just don't take it serious? Like a lot of other ailments, we tend to think we can fix it on our own.
Yeah, so a big challenge with the management and self-management of diabetes is that oftentimes you don't really feel anything, right? So there are a whole host of folks with diabetes that aren't aware of it. And then to your good point, there's a larger set of folks who have diabetes and just aren't managing it as tightly as they should, and aren't being as diligent because, quite honestly, again, most people, they don't feel any different, right? And if I don't feel any different, how can this be negatively impacting me in my body and all the organs, like all the doctors and the providers are saying? So that's the challenge. That it's one of those silent killers, along with hypertension, high blood pressure, that it inflicts its damage on the body over time, until things like amputations, vision loss, and all those things that I listed start to happen.
That is so rough on a person. And I know when I first met Miss Angie, all this energy came out the first time I met her. And then when I hear she has diabetes, it's like, it crushed my heart, because I'm like, wow. And I had just met her, it was like, wow, this energy and, but when you look at diabetes, go ahead, Greg, you got a comment?
No, I had a question.
Yes.
And my question is, can diabetes be reversed? Because you hear people. Yeah,
it's interesting. So there is this newer concept of diabetes reversal, and all the different diabetes organizations sort of got together and actually formally defined it. So particularly for type 2 diabetes, which tends to be a condition of lifestyle that you lose a certain percentage of your body weight. Aim for 5 to 10% of your body weight. You're getting out and exercising. You're managing what you're eating, right? Cutting back on carbohydrates, sugars, and sweets, and those things, increasing your fruits and vegetables. It is something that you can sort of manage to good quality. And then in the instance of type 2 diabetes in particular, that you can have this concept of diabetes reversal. So it's definitely a newer concept. Again, all the big diabetes stakeholders and the big societies recently got together a few months ago and just defined this term. But there's been a couple of different organizations that have been created with that focus to say, how do we help folks manage their diabetes, think about behavior change, and drive towards, first and foremost, controlling the diabetes, but then, if possible, reversing said diabetes.
So, like when you were mentioning reversing diabetes, this is what I've heard. I don't know how true this is. I haven't tried it because I don't have diabetes, but I do have high blood pressure. And I was told that if you do a plant-based diet for 3 straight weeks, that your numbers will dramatically decrease. And if you continue that, then your diabetes not saying that you won't be still considered diabetic, because you'll go back to that lifestyle, it's going to come back.
Yeah.
But in that plant-based lifestyle, would that correct some of the numbers?
So diet is a huge determinant and influencer of diabetes and diabetes control, right? So what folks should aim to do, people living with diabetes, is increasing the portion of greens that you see on a plate for each meal, right? And half of your plate should be filled with green, is the thing to aim for. So plant-based diets, Mediterranean diets, absolutely, for somebody living with diabetes, can have a lot of beneficial impact. The harder thing that I'll say, right, in terms of just behavior change and modifying one's lifestyle, is that can be difficult to sustain for folks. So I often tell folks that, if you can do that, you can go to a plant-based diet, so you can cut out some of those things that increase your blood sugar level. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But for a lot of folks,
Right.
that's quite challenging. So starting out
Right.
with baby steps, right? Anything you can do is going to be beneficial. So if you're drinking sodas, that's the first thing I focus on. And cut out the sodas, switch to diet sodas as the main thing, because that has a huge store of sort of added sugars.
Right.
And then increasing that portion of fruits and vegetables that you plate. Aim for half, which each meal being filled up with fruits and vegetables. Yes, lifestyle changes the big impact.
That's good. That's good. So for a person that like Miss Angie, who's trying to maintain her life, maintain a quality of life, there's things that maybe she want to do. How do a person, like from an emotional and mental standpoint, what can they do to like encourage themselves and lift themselves up to be able to enjoy life, even with this situation? Because that's some of the things that put people into a depression, that it just pulls them down, and they need to have a quality of life. What do you suggest?
Yeah, in the big thing that I'd say there, right, is that diabetes is a 100% manageable chronic condition, right? It sort of starts with language. We sort of stopped as a medical community referring to people as diabetics, right? And started referring to those people as people living with diabetes.
Yes.
So diabetes doesn't define you. It's just something that you're managing and living with. And that's a very important sort of mindset shift to start off with. But then, as Ms. Angie sort of eloquently put, it's finding that support system, right? Yeah. That can include providers such as myself. It can include friends. It can include others who are also living with diabetes, that you're there in solidarity. But it's also addressing mental health. And we know that mental health is incredibly important and something that is unfortunately overlooked when we think about depression and we think about other ailments of mental health. So getting out and talking to somebody and seeing mental health professionals and making sure that that's addressed, because I found that often that if you've got an unmanaged mood disorder or otherwise something in the mental health department that's unchecked, it's very difficult to go about and institute and implement and continue on with the lifestyle changes that are needed to manage a chronic condition like that. So the two are inextricably linked, that you've got to maintain your mental health. You've got to get out and see a therapist. You've got to do those things if you also want to live with a condition like diabetes.
Right. So as we all know, the United States has a really bad
There's a question in the chat.
Okay, what is the question? Go ahead and put that up.
Don't artificial sweeteners in diet soda pose other health risks?
So they can. So a large part of what I'll say, a large part of the recommendations and things are about harm reduction, right? This term. So it's about, we know that, for instance, the number one cause of added sugars in one's diet, which contributes to a poor trend in diabetes, is sodas. So if I'm talking to a patient that's got diabetes and poorly controlled blood sugar levels, the first thing I try to do is cut out sodas. If they absolutely can't cut out sodas and they need to go to diet sodas, absolutely, diet sodas are going to be better than the regular sodas given the sugar content. Would love that individual to increase what they're drinking in terms of water and to cut out cakes and sugars and some of those things. But it's about meeting people where they are. And I think that's the important thing, right? Because not everybody can switch over and do a full-on plant-based diet. So it's meeting people where they are and getting and pushing them in towards the right direction, towards positive behaviors.
Right. We have another guest here. We're going to add to the panel, Miss Renee Moore. And I want to explain a little bit what she does and her role in helping people with diabetes. Hello, how you doing today, Miss Renee?
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Doing great.
Good
So
morning.
what do you do, and like who is Miss Renee Moore, and what are your role and with diabetes and how you help people? And I know you're in the healthcare profession as well.
Right. And I work for WellMed, and what I do at WellMed, or what I used to do, and I still kind of lean on that side of the fence, but what I do, I try to get my patients to come out and do their preventative health screenings. If you
Yes.
guys know anything about that, you have to come in and you want to get checked out to find out, as a doctor said, about heart disease, about even hypertension. We want to find out, because that is a silent killer. Hypertension, strokes. You want to find out if you do have diabetes, things such as neuropathy. But a lot of people, our singers, don't want to find out. So I'm kind of known as the preventative health screening whisperer, because you really have to encourage them to come on out and get a health screening, but most of the time they don't want to. Not at all.
Right. That makes sense. So within the healthcare industry, like the United States have an issue we have an issue in our country with the health insurance issue that we have here. It's always this big battle with the cost of healthcare in our country. And
Right.
so I've heard so many times people with diabetes will go to Canada because it's cheaper to get their insulin. Where's that turn going to come in our country, where we say, or from a doctor's perspective, or for you that work with the health insurance companies or things like that, what do we do next? I mean, for a person who's struggling with diabetes, the high cost of it, where do we get our medication from? What is it? Is it going to always be this way? Are we going to get it right, or do we just have to go ahead and go to another country and have them shipped to us?
Right.
Just
And a lot of
what
us
we
lean toward going to not even private, but a county hospital, or just like Parkland. You see a lot of us, we have to go to Parkland. We have no choice. Parkland, JPS, because we cannot afford it. So that's our next best thing, or just miss out on it. But you don't want to miss out on your insulin. I mean, I'm a diabetic, but I don't take insulin, but I've kind of got it controlled. But like I say, it will kill me if I didn't get my medication. You know what I'm saying? So, it's really no good or bad answer. You really don't know what to do. And Dr. P, you may know more about that than I do, where that's concerned.
Is he frozen?
I think he
Looks
may
like
be.
like his screen is frozen there. Oh, there you go. Yeah, did you hear that question, Dr. P? Were you able to, I can't hear you. Were you able to hear that?
Oh, no. We'll say the question again.
Yeah, we were talking about the cost of medications and the best strategy for a person.
Yeah. So there's a lot of positive efforts. There's a lot of interesting efforts around the drug cost domain. I'm hoping we'll see if there'll be more regulatory action at all levels to address it. I'll say, like in the Medicare domain, they've capped. There's some good initiatives that cap the cost of insulin, for instance, because insulin in particular can be quite expensive. But some of the newer diabetes drugs are quite expensive from an out-of-pocket perspective. So I'm hoping that a lot of innovators in the space, which they are, they're working to say, we know this is the best drug, but it's certainly not the best drug if the people who need it can't afford it and don't have access to it.
Right.
So what are those points of access that, sort of take what folks like Parkland and JPS are doing from a broad scale access in the DFW area, and they drive that down to the medication, right? And there's companies like GoodRx who are really trying to make impacts there. Walmart and the $4, $9 list and things of that nature. I'm hoping that more and more companies continue to drive in that direction, because there's a huge opportunity there to so-called like do good and do well, to have a profitable business yet still do a good thing from a societal perspective. And in diabetes and a whole host of other chronic conditions have such a dramatic economic burden that a big part of it is just access to the services and care and to the resources that are needed to manage those conditions.
That's a good point with the like GoodRx. It's good and bad for me. Like I said, I have high blood pressure. The thing about GoodRx, the money I was paying did not go against my deductible.
Yeah.
So I was paying I had to pay. It was cheaper than the over-the-counter cost through my pharmacy. But I had to eventually start paying the out-of-pocket cost to bring my deductible down to get the insurance rate.
Yeah.
So either way, I still got caught paying this out of pocket. That was ridiculous. So I'm hoping that at some point we will be able to get that end of it straightened out, because it's been really rough for us.
Right.
I understand, Renee Moore, you were the medic driver
I
for.
was.
So explain that role a little bit.
Well, actually, I was not just a driver. I managed a team of medical assistants and nurse
Okay.
practitioners as well.
Oh
So,
man.
and we would go out and park the what we call our mobile clinic, park it in different places, and try to make it accessible for, like, if I would go out to the Oak Cliff area or to West Dallas, just want to make it accessible for them to come to the mobile clinic instead of going into the doctor's office, because a lot of them, didn't have a way even to get to the doctor's office, or just didn't want to come. So that's what we would do. And sometimes I would travel outside, like maybe to Waco, to Temple, to Tyler, something like that. That's where we do have patients that do have WellMed, but we don't have a WellMed clinic there. So we would come to them.
Right.
So I want to try to make sure I reach them.
Okay. So another, I'm not sure if Mr. Battle has a question or not, or our producer, Miss Angie, you had something? Yeah.
I did. Listen, my doctor is so amazing. Because I take insulin. Well, anybody that takes diabetes, they always tell you have to prick your finger. I would prick my finger so much my hands would just hurt. But Dr. P is this doctor. Listen, when I tell you I got an amazing doctor, I do. He had got me the Libre, which is on my arm, and this is for anybody with Medicaid and Medicare. You literally qualify to get these Libres to put in your.
What happened to her stream? What happened?
But
she got to dial back in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can pick up where she was referring to what we call continuous glucose monitoring. And for most of those individuals living with diabetes, if their provider decides that they need to check their blood sugar one or more times a day, it typically is a finger prick, right? You stick your finger, producing blood, you've got the little glucose machine, and it tells you what your blood sugar is. For folks who have to do that more often, there's an innovation called continuous glucose monitoring, where you can just put it on an area of your skin, and it's always telling you what your blood sugar is, so that you've got more real-time data instead of sort of the points. I know at this particular point in time, my blood sugar is this other particular point in time, my blood sugar is that. It's always telling you in real time what your blood sugar is. And that's what Miss Angie was referring to.
Yeah. What is one of the, go ahead, Greg.
My question that I wanted to dive into here, I lost a niece. She had juvenile diabetes and didn't want to take it seriously. Then when she became an adult and realized the reality of it, turned her life around, it was too late, her body shut down. What can families do to support those members of their families that have diabetes? Because my great aunt is always like, here's a pound cake I made for you. I'm like, I got to give it away, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and it'd be great to hear what Renee and Miss Angie, if you guys have other thoughts. For me, it's about being there in solidarity, in learning. Right, learning some of these important precepts of diabetes management. Because again, the things that you need to do well living with diabetes are things that are just great things to do to live healthy, to live a healthy lifestyle. There are not concepts that are novel and unique to those living with diabetes, right? It's things like making sure that you're getting enough exercise, around 2.5 hours of moderate level exercise a week. It's cutting down on fatty foods, on carbohydrate rich foods, increasing fruits and vegetables. They're things that we all need. So really coming together as a family unit, as a support network, to say, hey, let's really learn about this, and let's weave in and incorporate some of these into our own lifestyle, because, oh, by the way, although there's 30, 40 million people living with diabetes, there's another 88 to 90 million people living with this concept we call prediabetes. They're just on the borderline, right? And then there's a lot more people living with high blood pressure, a lot more people who are obese or overweight. So we all need a little TLC in terms of lifestyle management. So I think that's the big one that I say. It's like, learn the concepts, incorporate them into your life, and do it together, and be there in solidarity.
And can I say something about that?
Oh, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say about, as he's saying, you need an accountability buddy is what I say. Let somebody know that you do have diabetes, because a lot of our Black people, or not even Black people, but people in general, we're ashamed to tell people we have diabetes. We want to keep that a secret, and we can't do that, guys. We need to let our family know so they can watch what we eat, or, hey, you're not supposed to have that. I was one. Me working as, for WellMed and doing what I was doing, guess what, y'all? I knew I was a diabetic, already knew, but didn't want to, come to grips with it, and then I finally found out in 2000, I think it was 18, but like I say, it took me.
Ooh, we lost the audio.
You muted your
Can
volume.
you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
hello.
We can hear you.
Start with we lost the what?
Hello.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
She can't hear us.
We can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. You're good. Oh, wow. We can hear you. You can't hear us?
Hello.
We can hear you.
I can't see you guys.
Okay.
But I agree with what Renee was saying, right? I think it was well put.
Hello.
Can you hear us? Go ahead. You may need to reconnect.
Yep. Just
what
sign out, sign back in.
Yeah.
But she's absolutely right in terms of accountability. Anything that we can do to break down stigmas, to form groups of folks that are like-minded, that are driving towards better livelihoods, better lifestyle, is going to be positive.
It was something I had, man, and it just skipped my mind. Oh yeah, this is what it was. You were talking about doing it together with learning about diabetes and put those actions together as a household, as a family. Yeah. There's Miss Renee. She's back in there. See if she can get her back up. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Okay. So what would you think this would be a good idea, or something that could be implemented into our society, which is where in schools we would learn about those big these chronic diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, things like that, where you can start off at a young age learning about what to eat, what not to eat. But you say you learn about these healthy diets growing up, but we never put it in connection with diabetes, high blood pressure, and other ailments that's associated with diet. So when they put it together, and most people in 2021 know someone who has high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, or these other types of chronic illnesses. If we learn at a younger age what foods to eat, that will help prevent that. And the reason why I say that, because I remember doing a study, not really a study, but I did some research a couple years ago when my blood pressure got really bad. And me and the doctor was talking, and he said, have you ever looked up, he was not my doctor, he was a health doctor, more of a holistic doctor. He said, look up the countries with the least amount of high blood pressure. Mm-hmm. He said, look at those countries and look at their diet. Because you can Google the average diet, what the foods are. Sure. And places like, I think it was like Thailand, or it was an Asian country, like a South Pacific country or an Asian country that had low numbers of high blood pressure. And he said it was their diet. Then he said, look up cancer. He named all these different illnesses and look at their diet.
Right.
Yeah.
And we learned in school what foods were good to eat and what were bad to eat, and what the ailments that can come from that. Maybe that can change the mentality, of how we approach food. because we just eat junk until we get sick. Then we're like, oh, we can't eat that no more, and it's too late.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Right, if you look at the data these days, more and more adolescents and children are getting type 2 diabetes, right? You mentioned, juvenile diabetes, type 1 diabetes, which is something that we typically start to diagnose in childhood and adolescence. But type 2 diabetes is something that traditionally we only see in adults, but we're seeing more and more kids and young people with it. We're seeing more kids and young people. 1 out of 5 young people are frankly obese in the United States, right? So it's becoming an increasingly large and evident problem. And I think we need to start back with the basics, right? Like, let's go back to the fundamentals and teach nutrition in a really deep and dramatic way, in making sure that we're incorporating it into our lifestyles from the beginning. I think it's important in learning those good habits, in making sure that they're part of the way that we live.
Right.
Great.
We always have this thing on the bottom line called "Give me your bottom line," and I'm going to go around the table. Ms. Angie, I'm going to bring you back up. Okay.
Okay.
You're in there. So
I'm in here.
I want to get your bottom line, doctor. We usually have the banner for it. I don't think. Oh, there you go, right there. The bottom line, doctor. In regards to diabetes, our health, what is your bottom line with this conversation?
Yeah, so my bottom line is that diabetes is a chronic condition that we can live with, and that we can manage, and that we need to do together as a community.
Okay, great, awesome. Okay, what about you, Renee?
Well, as he was saying, we can live with diabetes, and as I was saying earlier, make sure you let somebody know. Don't be in denial, because I was in denial for a long time. So make sure you get your preventative health screenings for sure, and make sure you see your doctor yearly like you're supposed to, so you'll know ahead of time.
Sounds great. And Ms. Angie, I'm gonna get you back up. Seems like your stream keeps dropping. What's your bottom line for the day, Ms. Angie? I can't hear you. Your mic is muted. You gotta unmute your mic. There you go. Yeah.
My bottom line is diabetes is not our friend, and I want to campaign and continue to make an awareness about this disease that's in our community. But diabetes is not our friend.
Definitely. I really appreciate you all. And Mr. Battle, what's your bottom line for today?
My bottom line for the day is that we need to take time to love each other and to establish relationships where we can talk with one another and not have to judge one another just because of what someone else says. Develop a relationship, have a conversation.
I agree. Yeah, my bottom line for the day is, learn all you can. I learned a lot today from these 3 guests today. And my mom is someone who was diagnosed with diabetes maybe 3 years ago. She's also a colon cancer survivor. My mom, 2015, had surgery for colon cancer. And the thing about we were mentioned earlier about finding doctors, the more we start educating ourselves on our ailments, we will start seeking out doctors that we feel have our best interest. And you can hear it in the way a doctor responds. My mom was told that she didn't have cancer from a doctor. And just so happened, my wife works in oncology. And she knew a very good doctor that worked specifically with colon cancer. And she got my mom into the office like the next day, and he diagnosed her with cancer, said she does have colon cancer. And what if we had not knew about this other doctor? And they did surgery. She's been cancer free now since 2015, but now she's diabetic, and she's being treated for that. But it's the understanding and the knowledge. I just want everybody out there to take that time to go out. Oh, and this is my auntie. She says a very good show. She's a diabetic, and just educate ourselves out there. The bottom line is educate yourselves and also research your doctors. I'm not saying these are bad doctors out there. All I'm saying is research the best doctor for you. And I've had my experience here where I did not find the best doctor for me, and I'm still looking for him. So, doctor, I will be calling you soon to get some recommendations or come to see you because I need a new doctor for real.
I'll be waiting.
So
Me too.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in today for the bottom line. We're doing an hour show today. My co-host Darren is out. He's taking his daughter out on some college trips. I'm really so excited about that. 11th grade. This is so they're on the road doing college visits. So we're gonna have an hour show today, and I'm gonna close out with my man Greg. But I want to thank you all again for joining us, and please come back at any time if you have any updates in the medical field that you want to come. Please feel free to text me or email me, and I'll be happy to bring you on the show. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Greg, that was an awesome show today, man. I'm like excited. I got some professionals on here, and I'm so grateful that they were able to take the time and come on the show. A lot of times you ask people to come on and they drag it out, and I'm still, trying to get people on for some other topics, but they all agreed this week. And I really attribute that to Miss Angie to show you the relationships that she has with her inner circle, her support system. It says a lot because she's been wanting to get this word out. And she said every other month. So Miss Angie, every other month, you always send it to my inbox. I want you to send it to this comment box for the bottom line so I can get your stuff up there online because I get flooded in my inbox on Facebook. I need you to put it on the bottom line page and we can get some stuff out there for you. So, Greg, I want you to have a great weekend. Any last final comments for today?
I do have a last comment. Angie touched my heart when she said, it seems like nobody's fighting for it. Got to realize that just because I don't see the fight doesn't mean that it's happening. It's happening in Cleveland. It's happening in Akron. It's happening in Texas. It's happening in New York as we continue to communicate. And that's why I'm on that thing about relationships. We got to stop assuming that we know what somebody is thinking and just talk with them. You might find out something different.
I totally agree. That's the whole thing of our show is meeting people with different viewpoints and coming to a consensus or a compromise to be able to hear one another so issues can move forward for the good.
Right.
And you mentioned relationships. I see that you got rid of OBJ over there in Cleveland. I see your Browns pillow back there. So I'm sure you put that pillow in the view.
He was kind of toxic in the situation. He didn't take care of number 13 like he was supposed to. So, karma, go wear number 3 for LA. We'll move on.
So hopefully that the relationship has been restored in the city of Cleveland. So when I come back home, I'll be able to catch a win, right? When I come to the game.
Oh yeah. We're gonna step it up tomorrow. Somebody's gonna be surprised.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody again for checking out the bottom line. We're here every Saturday morning. We start 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're on the Pacific, on the West Coast, I'm not sure exactly what time you are, maybe 2 hours behind us, but if you can catch us on the bottom line, we really appreciate it. And with that, we're out.